broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, AfterBuzzers.
Wait, slow down.
Well, why? You want to hear the song?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Well, I was just going to intro it. The song can keep playing, Kevin.
Welcome, Bar Rescue fans.
Welcome back, Bar Rescue fans, to Season 4, Episode 22, Take Me Out to the Bar Game. Kevin, we got to get back in the swing of things. Kevin K-Wow Undergaro here.
Second. Okay, so I was just on the verge of saying, oh my God, it's us reuniting, you and me, Roxy Stryer.
Well, Roxy Rookie Stryer,
Roxy Rookie Stryer, Kevin K-Wow Undergaro, and then, of course, DJ Jesse, who was our original DJ from one of the first after shows we ever did at AfterBuzz, the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
And the way Jesse rolled in the song, it was like, oh my God, to have like that high level of a DJ, we've never had that. Like, he rolled it in perfectly, and then you came and stepped all over it.
I butchered it. I'm just not used to the talent and skill of rolling it in so quickly.
And Jesse, it comes in quickly, right? You give it a few breaths, right? Let the audience get the feel, and then it's welcome, fans.
Okay, all right.
Welcome, Bar Rescue
Take
fans.
2. Are you ready, Jesse, with the music?
Let the buzz begin!
Hello, AfterBuzzers. Welcome back to Bar Rescue, Season 4, Episode 22. Take Me Out to the Bar Game. I'm your host, Roxy Stryer, alongside Kevin K-Wow Undergaro.
Much better.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
You just pulled a John Taffer. You came into my bar, you fixed me up,
right?
And now I'm ready to perform.
And now you're ready.
I am. Wow, you're the John Taffer of AfterBuzz.
We were just saying tonight, it's good that now you're watching this show, so we have another perspective on it, because we're always drinking the Taffer Kool-Aid. But just watching tonight's show, and just, again, it hits you 2 nights, and the amount of change made in those 2 nights is pretty epic.
It really is unbelievable, especially because, like you just said, I am a fan of this show, but I kind of pop in and I pop out. So I think the episodes are even more poignant for me and meaningful because I still can't believe what he is doing. I mean, I guess you can't either, so that means he's doing a really incredible job. The fact that he's on Season 4, Episode 22, and I'm still sitting there crying. You're still sitting there thinking, holy crap, how's he doing this?
Right.
That's just a testament to everything he's done. And tonight was a really interesting episode because it was a new premise. We had a very successful athlete, somebody who had made $14 million at one point, and for lack of better words, pissed it all away.
Pitcher Danny Serafini was drafted back in '92, and not at least record-wise, not a very successful pitcher. He didn't have crazy stats, but somehow squeaked out an 18-year career. And many releases, many firings. He would get these free agent contracts for a year, be released, year be released, year be released. And hung around for quite a long time. Ended up going to Mexico, it looked like, and Japan. He also had a problem with steroids.
Wow.
A suspension with steroids because he said it was left over from his body playing in Japan.
And Kevin, do you actually remember this from when he was playing? So
No.
from the 90s? No.
No, because he was what you call a journeyman.
Okay.
He played on so many different teams.
But he was very successful, clearly.
Well, baseball's the highest paid sport.
Right.
So even the worst players end up making a lot of money. They had some stats on his early contracts in the 90s. It was around a couple $100,000 a year. It wasn't the crazy millions, but over 18-year period, I mean,
It's just insane to think about the fact that at one point he was a multi-millionaire, and at another point he had to ask his parents for a loan for $240,000 so that he could start trying to have this bar and make a new career for himself.
He was divorced, so that will take half. And
Yeah.
then remember, the government takes half.
Of course.
If not more with those numbers.
Right.
So, and then I'm sure because he played for so long and he traveled a lot. Mm-hmm. So probably part of that career in Mexico or Japan, he wasn't making a lot of money. It might have even been costing him money to be there. So it could be a little deceiving. And I can see where it happens because we see it in our business all the time.
Right.
But anyway, it's very sad. And of course, he's now mortgaged the parents' house to afford this bar.
Mm-hmm. And his own house, and there was a foreclosure note on his door, and he's living with his wife and these 2 family friends, and he's trying to help everybody out. And I think that he, deep down, is a really good guy, but he's trying to help out too many people to his own detriment, and that's not the way to get things done because then everybody fails. And John Taffer comes in tonight, and he really makes him step up his game. And I loved watching this because it wasn't just a guy who wasn't doing well who was like, hey, why don't I start a bar? This is a guy who had been successful, now wanted to be successful in another venture, and John knows best. So I did really enjoy this episode.
And John mentioned a lot because John's worked with a lot of former athletes. And
right.
So a lot of times athletes have handlers, and then when they're out of the business, there's no one to handle them.
You don't know how to be a manager.
I also don't know. He seemed like a decent guy, but some of it was nice, but some of it's the fact he's on the road with another business.
Right.
Because when they were battling back and forth, Tara, I believe it was Tara, the blonde.
It was Tara and Winter.
Tara, right, but who's the blonde drunk?
So the blonde drunk was Jessica.
Jessica, excuse me. But Jessica said, you two aren't even here. And so I feel like it was one of those things where they got lazy or they're overwhelmed with their other things and they let the inmates run the asylum, and this is what the inmates did.
I agree with that, but at the same time, I don't think that he has to be there every single day.
No, but you have to put things in proper place before you walk away. So when we started AfterBuzz, like there was a lot of trial and error, and I was here a lot, and it wasn't always pretty.
Right.
It was very hard. And finally, by weeding different people out and getting the right team in there and consistency, then you can walk away. But he didn't do that, and he didn't have the players set up to succeed anyway to begin with.
You tell me though, because you are our creator and CEO, and you run the ship here, but you also have put in place a team that makes it so that you feel comfortable not being here all hours of the day. Now, is that a certain amount of time period?
Yep.
You just have to go through that? It's a feeling?
I think you have to build it. And then when you build it, you have to eat it and sleep it in most cases. You might get a full partner who is your operations partner. He'll handle operations. You'll put up the money. That's different. But in any business, I think you have to go in. You have to work really hard. You have to empower your people. And you have to be disciplined and have consistency and set them up to fail. Set them up to succeed. And then you'll see repetition over time. It'll run itself. And then maybe every now and again you come in and take the temperature. You audit or whatever. But for the most part, that's how it's done. And he didn't do that.
Because what I find on the show is usually we have the owner and then we have the general manager, but he didn't really have a general manager. It was him and his wife, who technically didn't even work there.
Right.
And then these 4 bartenders, none of which were stepping up to the plate, all of which were below the DPA.
Right.
And I felt like maybe he needed somebody there day in, day out to manage. And
absolutely.
Does it have to necessarily be him, though? I guess you're saying for a little bit it does.
Yeah, to set it up.
Okay.
Unless he's going to partner in somebody else. Yeah.
Right.
It needed to be him. With him, and we'll get into it. It's funny, Phil, who works here, always likes to hire athletes. And because he feels like they are used to being coached, they're used to playing as a team, they're used to, if it's a team sport. And I never saw things that way, but you see the way this guy kicked it back in. He was used to having coaches, and then he understood what it takes as a coach to win. So then he knew how to do it back to, quote, his players and his workers. So I think that's why I bought his adjustment. But, there's a couple of flags that I had with him, too. He's a very passive-aggressive guy. And he
got in John's face a little bit.
You know what? We've seen that every week, and I actually don't even mind that because John, comes and he yells and he screams and he's a big guy. No, just see how he slapped the stuff away from Winter? It was bad enough he slapped everything, he smashed everything off the table. I mean, in human resources,
I know
that is just frightening.
Especially when she is a
slapped,
young girl.
I mean,
She's a young
slapped
girl.
that thing away. Like, I cringed when I saw that.
He has a little bit of an anger issue, but he has a lot to be angry about.
Okay, but Roxy, really? But to that's a girl, like, and
I
a young
completely
girl, like,
agree.
and he's a big guy.
But I'm saying
I was just, listen, I get it, but you can never go there.
I think that's absolutely true. I completely disagree with his actions, but I get why he was fed up.
I know, but still, it's like I'm just surprised that there was probably so much of a mess that he didn't get called out for it. But to me, that's all. I predict that's always going to happen with him. Unless he treats it, even if things are good, he's going to have his moments.
You think no matter what John can do, or no matter what anybody can say to him,
I think he has to address that. I don't know if it's therapy or meditation or whatever, but you don't react like that freely. That's just, to me, that's a big jock who's probably gotten his way his whole life. Like, you know me for how long? I'm a pretty tough guy.
Yeah.
You ever see me do that?
No, of course not.
Right? To a female? Like, that's crazy.
Of course not. But I think that you know better than that, and hopefully you surround yourself by people and you train people in different ways.
No. Okay, true. But I'm saying I've been pushed to my brink, and I've never done that before.
Right.
And anyway, I just thought that to me was as much as I can get, I'm not into the whole bullying thing, and I think a lot of people are crybabies. That freaked me out. I did not like seeing that.
Kevin, why don't you think John addressed that then?
I think he just had too many other things to go over.
But wouldn't that be one of the most important things?
And by the way, that may have happened before John got there.
Oh.
John he's not watching the show. He's watching what's happening in real time.
Right.
Oh, John's super protective of females. So
or maybe he did address it and we didn't see it.
And of course, it could have been cut. And he fought back with John a little bit. But again, I'm used to that. John's a big guy. He's overpowering. He really breaks you down. And if you're a masculine guy and you're being called out, it's a real blow to your ego.
Right.
And I can see where you would want that. I get. But to do that to a female, and twice we saw it, that I was like, ooh, there's some things that even if the bar gets better, it'll be something else. Someone at a stoplight, whatever. I don't know. That's just something that my personal feeling is, in my experience, that something that has to be addressed. But so we won't have to belabor it.
Right. We are trying to set him up for success, though, and we do this by bringing in two
Phil
people.
Wills.
So I was just going to say, Kevin, you have a thing for him, clearly. You're really into Phil.
For the guy bartenders, Phil Wills, I think, is Top Gun.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
it's rotated. It's like anything. It's like you have rankings in UFC. Like last year, I probably had other people, but no, my guy is Phil Wills. He is on point.
So if we had a fantasy draft, you would draft him first?
If it was if we did male and female, he out of the males, yes. Okay. I wouldn't say first because Mia.
Yeah,
to me, and then under Mia is my second pick. Is Lisa? Is who's the kind of suicide girl that she's tatted out? Lisa. God, I'm sorry, I'm
no, that's okay. We'll get it next week.
She's amazing, and then but also I love Vic Vegas. Yeah. I don't think we've used Vic Vegas enough, and by the way. This is a different side of Vic Vegas. Normally, Vic Vegas is a lot louder and more of a bull. Needs
to be.
And this was.
I was really impressed tonight
Lisa Marie Joyce.
Yes, Lisa Marie.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse.
I was really impressed tonight by Vic, but also by the kitchen in general. What was his name? Tom. Yeah, Tom, the chef.
Thought you liked him smoking the butt and drinking his beer?
No, that wasn't the impressive part, Kevin. It was the transformation. He's out there. He's having the beer. He's having his cigarette. I'm thinking, all right, is this 4th of July yet? Because he looks like who's running my grill at my 4th of July party. That's what it really looked like. He was outdoors cooking on the grill, kind of flipping things when he wants, hammering things when he wants. Somebody who was like fake playing chef. I didn't think we were going to get there with him.
Right.
I mean, what did you think when you first see him? And we've already seen all of the messed up bartenders, and now we see him, and he's casually got the cigarette with the one hand and whatever. Are you thinking, oh yeah, this guy's going to be an all-star? No.
No. And the fact that he also wasn't set up for success because he's under a tent. It's not like he's even in a kitchen.
Yeah, that's
true.
So
you're right. It was surprising, and but I don't know, I'm just giving credit to Vic Vegas.
Yeah, he really killed it. You know what I loved about this episode too? It lent itself to a lot of different baseball analogies. And
let's talk about that.
Okay.
So, but I think about Phil Wills.
Okay.
You know, when he comes in, John devises this. What was it? The
DPA.
DPA. And if you notice,
drink production
and again,
average.
guys, I hate to just keep belaboring the point, but the genius of John Taffer is that he has this way of zeroing in on people and why he's so much about not just fixing the bar, but fixing the person. He goes at each person differently. So with you, Roxy, he would find out whatever it is that makes you tick, whatever it is that would get you to respond, he finds that way. With myself, same thing. He'd look me, he just in a matter of minutes looks you head to toe and goes, okay, this is what will appeal to you. So he knew batting averages. Now, how many seasons, how many episodes of Bar Rescue, we've never heard of this DPA thing, right? Which does exist and is super interesting. But he knew that, okay, baseball player, totally going to understand batting averages, totally going to understand statistics. This is going to have a breakthrough for this guy.
Exactly.
And of course it did.
I thought that was really, really genius. And the fact that we always talk about this is a science. There's a science to this.
Right.
And him breaking it down. So it's not just this abstract theory. It's concrete numbers. You either hit the standard or
Right.
you freaking
Your batting
don't.
average for pouring drinks.
Right. And that's what it is. The drink production average.
But every week, that's why I love this show. They still find a way to educate us,
right,
with these new systems or new facts or new pieces of bar science. But then the fact that you not only come up with this new nugget, but it was so applicable to baseball, and when he said all about averages, right? And you could see the guy was just laser focused. He was, the guy Dan was all in. Like, I get it,
Absolutely.
And like I said, what I love about John is, I've seen him work with cowboys. I've seen him work with, he's with divorcees. He figures it out. He figures out what it is. How am I going to reach this person? And that's just a whole other level of coaching.
Yeah, it really is. And, I didn't think about it that way because to me, I obviously don't know how to run a bar as clearly. And I would think, all right, most of the bars have the same issues. The management isn't doing its job. The staff isn't pouring the drinks quick enough, whatever it is. But then it's a whole different step to be able to take the problems and explain it to people individualized enough so that they can actually change.
And again, it goes beyond bar. It's any business.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's any business is going to have these problems.
Yeah, and on that note, we actually did see John Taffer when he was sitting in the car and he saw Dan yelling. He said, look, he's running around, he's trying to fix the problems, but he doesn't have the tools to do it. He doesn't actually know how to convey to these people, hey, so he's just yelling.
I think because it was too late at that point. I felt like he and the wife were never there, but because cameras were rolling, they were going to come in. And he did say, he goes, me and my wife just came here for a drink and now we have to work. So that's why it was just, it was like too late. It's like the ship is sinking too fast at that point.
No, we can't go with the ship is sinking too fast. We got to say
The baseball team is in last place.
We're in the bottom of the ninth.
And no, it's the last place and it's past the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And there's no way you're getting out.
Look, you just stepped up to the plate. But was that any good? Ooh, Jesse didn't like that one so much.
But talking about the other thing we learned is that 70% of a bar revenue is made in 16 hours a week, Friday and Saturday night.
Right, at the majority of bars. Not all bars. There are some bars that specialize in happy hour, or college bars are different, but...
Well, 70%.
But yeah, exactly. So in 70% of bars, this is the statistic. And this town, they are right outside of Reno. This is a perfect place. It's an affluent community. It's a great place, as we discover, for dates with your husband or your wife or your girlfriend or whatnot. It's a really nice date spot. And when do you go on dates? Well, it's a Friday night. It's a Saturday night.
And when you go on a date on a Friday night, do you like a blonde bartender whose chest is hanging out, who's going to blow a 2.1? A 0.21.
0.21.
3 times the drunken legal limit.
Kevin.
That's the bartender on this show, Jesse.
Kevin, I got to tell you.
Are you effing up or you F-ups?
Yeah.
That's what John wanted to know.
I love that too. I worked at a bar for 5 years, and if I was ever caught, there was no tolerance. If you were caught having one drink behind the bar,
Boston
one drink
or LA?
in Boston.
Yeah, that's why.
One drink behind the bar, you were fired. Period. That was the rule. You couldn't have a drink behind the bar.
But let me do the math. You weren't probably even 21, right?
No, and you only have to be 18 back there to serve alcohol. but I was hired there when I was a little younger, so I'll keep the name of the bar to myself.
Nice.
So I'm just saying they wouldn't, because it's bad. It's bad for business. You're taking
Like
their
good
money.
old times.
You're taking their money. You're literally drinking the money away, and then you're not as good at your job because you're drunk. So it's a lose-lose for the bar. For her to be at a .21, she would have had so many drinks, and I'm sorry, not to blow up her spot, how'd she get to work that day? Did she drive there? Is she planning on driving home? Are you kidding? And that's
when John called that out, he said, one car accident and you'd be in debt the rest of your life.
Of course, because he owns the place,
The thing
and
is,
she would sue.
She backed down for the most part, but she had her moments too where she was fighting back. And as I was saying, there's nothing worse than dealing with a drunk. And they never own up to, they never did anything wrong. They're never really drunk at all, and blah, blah, and just so stubborn. And it's like, oh my God, it's so frustrating to deal with it.
I don't have a single friend who, when they're drunk, will admit they're drunk. All of them, when they're drunk, they say, I'm not that drunk. And so this reminded me of every single one of my friends. As you're carrying them home and they're puking in your car, I'm not that drunk. And even after she admits to John that she's drunk, I'm talking about Winter at this point, later on, John leaves and she turns to Dan and says, I'm really not that drunk. Like, honey, you already said it. You already admitted it. It's better to say you're drunk, because otherwise, what's your excuse? You're just bad at your job?
Well, as we find out, so we have the test.
Yeah, we have the test. So the first time we have the test, so it's spring training, we have the test, and Hannah got a 1.63, which isn't good, and was the best of the 4.
Right.
Jessica got a 1.84. Winter got a 2.09, and Tara got a 2.20, which is awful. So the two girls that you were putting under your
didn't
roof.
Winter get the worst
No,
one?
that was later on when we do the test again.
Okay, gotcha.
They actually switch. But the two women that are under your roof are the two ones that are costing you the most money.
So
that is like a smack in the face.
That's always typical, though, usually.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately, it's the people that's to treat you like that.
I want to hear more about how that happened, though.
He said family, friends.
Right.
I bet you anything, it's one of those things, he's super overwhelmed. The wife's at home. She's not a worker, and she's raising the kids. He's on the road with construction or wherever else trying to make extra income. And it's one of those things like probably two young girls that are family friends like, oh, my God, we will totally move to, I can tell you how it went down. Well, oh, we would love to move to Nevada. Oh, my God, and we could run your bar. Oh, really? Yeah, and you can just live with us. And then you'll have no bills. Okay, good. And it's like you think, okay, this is a quick solution. We've got people we can trust, and they don't have any bills, so they don't have to get paid a lot of money, and then here you go.
Yeah. A really bad idea, but what is a good idea here, I guess, coming from you, coming from John, that I don't know much about, so maybe you could help me out, the landmark fire.
Yes.
Tell me.
It goes back to sports, but also you have it in jobs as well. No, you fire one person and you send a message to everyone else, like, wow, if you can get away with it, you fire somebody that people don't expect could be fired. So then everyone goes, oh my God, next could be me.
So do you feel like at the end of the day, this is jumping ahead a little bit, but just because we're talking about landmark fire, do you feel like it was a good idea to fire Winter?
Yeah.
He had to let somebody go? Mm-hmm. That breaks my heart.
It was, well, again, because he's passive aggressive. He was a little too cold and short about it for me, but whatever, we don't know the whole story, and she had pushed it so far. But I tell you, she was very classy about it.
She really was.
She was very classy, and you never see that. That's why someone like that, I would actually I'd say go to bartending school, learn, and come back, because she did handle it that way. Normally they go out, the ones that get fired go out in the blaze of glory.
I would think that would be a much smarter job, because then you're not creating an enemy. And actually, she seemed to have a lot of heart. She said everything he said was right. I took advantage of him. I feel so bad right now.
Right.
I thought she was very, very classy. And I know that he was trying to split up these two girls that were finishing each other's sandwiches, as they said.
Yeah.
But I really felt bad for her at this point.
Yeah, but it was right in the moment to fire her then, and to send a message to everyone else. And like I said, we don't know from looking at bar rescue updates. I don't know if she's back there working or not. But
okay.
I don't know. I feel like something like that could get a second shot. I was impressed with how she handled it.
I hope so. What did you think about, so we decided to do this stress test and we put everybody in the different color cups because that's how we're going to figure out who has the lowest DPA. I thought that was, this is so simple, but I thought it was brilliant. Because I was thinking, how are they going to measure this?
That's how you do it.
Yeah, it was really, really
but
good.
Again, it's like how many episodes of this show we've never seen that?
Yeah, I know.
Of all the recon, not the recon, but of all the stress tests, we've never seen that.
And this time, our crazy blonde woman actually comes in first place. So when she's sober, apparently she can do her job. Okay, she was a little wishy-washy at first.
No, but then she kicked it in.
She got a 1.18, which was the best. Hannah with a 1.21, Tara with a 1.87, and Winter with a whopping 2.04.
Can I tell you about, is it
Tara, yeah.
Jessica? No, Jessica. Who's
Jessica's the blonde.
In my experience in the bar business, those women are barmaids for life. They're bar veterans. And
It's a career.
It's a career. And she, when sober, I totally bought in that she would be fine because someone like that is at their happiest when they're in a bar, when they're behind the bar and talking to everyone, the customers. They love it. And then, on their night off, they're going to a bar with their friend, that Monday night or whatever, which is big in the bar business because people who work the bar industry or the restaurant industry tend to go out and they tip very well. But she seems like a lifer, and you can work with those people. They're really good. So I knew as long as she's sober, that didn't surprise me. She would kick it in.
But it's easy for her to stay sober for a night. For her to stay sober behind the bar every single night, do you honestly believe she can do that?
We don't know enough to know if she has a problem.
Right.
Right now, it could be like, hey, why not? I get to go get drunk at work and have fun.
Right.
But if it's a problem, then it will pop back up. If it's not a problem, then no, it should be okay.
It was interesting. We saw a lot of her. We saw a lot of Winter and Tara, but we didn't see much of this girl Hannah, and she kind of just stayed in the top pool a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just only have so much space on the show.
Maybe better to keep quiet too. She's like, I hear that you might be firing somebody. I'm just going to do my job and shut up.
Right.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of a smart play. I was sad to see Winter go, but as she did, Tara really stepped up her game.
She stepped up her game. Yep.
And that's what we knew was going to happen.
And that's why you do it, and that's what's called a landmark firing, and it's unfortunate, but God, I could tell you how many times in television, even in podcasting, there's been some landmark firings. And because of it, the rest of the staff sits up straight and tends to behave, and just, it's kind of what you have to do.
Now, if you do end up pulling the move that you talked about earlier, saying go to bartending school, like you're fired for now, but maybe if you get your act together, you can come back. Does all of that work that's done in the interim go away if you rehire that person?
No, because you made your statement, and then you can show everyone, no, look, she went to bartending school, she did this, and that's it. And if she screws up again, she's out. And by the way, and if any of you screw up with her, you're going to go with her.
Yeah. Okay, so Winter, if you're listening to this, go do that. Go to bartending school and get your crap together.
Yeah, because I think she'd be great. She had a big smile. She was fun behind the bar.
Adorable.
Yeah, she just needed to learn that. I think he set her up to fail. I think that's on him. I bet you anything it was like, oh, you know what? You guys want to move here? Fun. You just graduated from high school. You just graduated from college. You got nothing going on. Just come live at the house. We'll throw you behind the bar. Because I know when my first bartending job, that's what they did with me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I got to go to school. And I went, and I was like New England bartending school, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I took all the classes. Like, I was a total
ABC
nerd about
bartending,
it.
Yeah.
And, I think that's what you should do.
It's actually more difficult than people think.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it really is. And so I think a lot of people who are watching this show who have never been behind a bar before are kind of like, oh, who cares what the bartenders is? Plug in XYZ person.
No.
It really does matter. And they kind of have to have a chemistry with each other, too.
And you either get the mixologist that is amazing and just takes such pride in what they do, or I'm still finding when I go out, just doing everything to try to get the bartender's attention. They're doing, and it just maybe because it's LA and no one out here works hard. But I'm used to Boston where they just the bartenders, the good ones, will pound, push out drinks.
Right.
But, that's the name of the game. Whereas out here, it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. I mean, literally, it's like I think you got to walk up, give them a $100 bill at the beginning of the night, and say, listen.
Honestly,
Yeah.
LA, I've never been to this many bars where people have attitudes.
Yeah.
Right.
You're doing your job.
Yeah.
Right, that's your job.
That's
Your
your
job is to create an experience for us. It's to be hospitable. That's your job.
Jesse, it's a really good point. You'll order a drink and then you feel guilty for ordering that drink because it's like they were in the middle of a conversation and you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, could I please get a drink? Is that possible?"
And then you feel bad about tipping because it's like, I don't want to tip you because it took me 30 minutes to give.
But then if you don't, it's going to be 2
they'll call
hours.
you out too.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
No, so, I always
smart.
tell you guys about, I'm going to date myself, but you go watch the episode with Seinfeld and the soup Nazi.
I know. No soup for you.
I said,
I know.
no. Who don't, see, everyone forgets the real takeaway was not the soup Nazi, how mean he was, or Jerry getting into it with him and George and them. No, it was Newman in the soup Nazi. Because Newman knew how to nod, polite, thank you,
And
like
get his soup.
head down the whole time. And that's how you have to deal with anyone in LA, I feel, in the hospitality service. Same thing, head down, just nod.
You're right.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, with your tray, move along at the right pace.
Right.
So, Jesse, you know what? You go in, those people, it's just, yes, and thank you, and what's your name, and just pay the vig, give them the extra money. It's terrible. But yeah, I'm so glad you said that because I thought that was just me out here.
No, absolutely not. And these people actually, though, they're not from LA. They're outside of Reno, and I felt like they were a little nicer.
No, they were great. No,
Yeah.
these people were great. To bring it back to our show, these people were fantastic. And that's what I'm saying. There's an old saying, hire for heart, train for skill. And they had heart. But he didn't train them, and he didn't, something had to be done. But I would give that girl a shot for sure.
Yeah.
Compared to what we deal with out here. And the problem is out here, Jesse, is that they're all like, oh, I'm just doing this before I get my big break to become a star. I'm really a star, and
Right. Nobody is like that girl, Jessica, who just loves to be behind the bar and wants to be behind the bar.
I mean, look at Mia, who's one of our hosts here, and she's one of the best experts on bar rescue, but she loves it. She's amazing. I mean,
Takes pride in what she does.
I've had Mia at the Soho house, and she's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Absolutely. So they do make these 2 different specialty drinks, and I always love, and I write down everything. I put it on my phone, the recipe for these drinks, because I think that they're really, really delicious,
they're
and
very cool.
I love going home and trying to make them, whatever. So there was the campfire, and then there's the s'mores martini. And when they decided these drinks, I started thinking to myself, wow, what does this have to do with a baseball bar? What are they going to do here? This isn't very... Yeah, some bells are going off. I'm thinking that doesn't really match the theme. Okay, where are we going with this? We got a little, campy, oaky vibe going on here. Insert Oak Tavern. Really, really interesting. Now, Kevin, maybe you know better than I do, but I'm confused why they tried to get away from this baseball... not even a baseball theme, but the fact that he is a baseball star and has been.
He's a baseball star and all that may be well and good, but is that good for business? And what John surmised was that this was a neighborhood bar, that this was in a residential area. So to have a baseball bar or a sports bar probably wouldn't be as effective as a neighborhood bar where people from the neighborhood feel that they can walk or drive to a bar where they just are going to hang out that's in the neighborhood, and that's hence why it was changed over to Oakwood. Or Oak Tavern.
My favorite thing is when you look at the sign, it says Oak Tavern. Now, if you are somebody who's just passing through this town, you say, Oak Tavern, what's that? Well, the rest of the sign tells you exactly what that is. A great local bar.
Done.
That's
what I love.
Done. I think that is so awesome because the last thing I want to do is drive by a place, see that it's called Oak Tavern, think, what the heck is Oak Tavern? Take out my phone, Google Oak Tavern. It's already a mile behind me at this point. Keep on going. This is outside of Reno, so I'm sure there's a lot of people coming through. Yes, it is tailored to the locals. They probably, most of them know about it at this point then. But if you are a passerby, now you're in on the fun. A great local tavern.
Tavern.
I want to go to a great local tavern. That's great for me. So I thought that was really cool. No, I'm serious. I love places that tell you exactly what the freak they are.
Well, I'm a believer that because there's just so much competition in almost everything now, whether it's the bar industry or podcasting, television, movies, that I'm really big on title or name and direct. I always say to kick them in the balls. Do you know what I mean? Just give it right to them rather than, unless you have a lot of money behind you to go crazy. Like Yahoo, for instance, doesn't have to say we are or Google doesn't have to say we're an internet search engine. It's not internetsearchengine.com. But then again, it's Google. So it had
Gravitas,
hundreds of millions of dollars behind it to market it and get it out there properly. Whereas, if you were doing a startup and you didn't have all that behind you, I like any kind of name that just tell me what it is. I want to know what I'm getting.
Yeah, and this really does that for you.
Yeah.
When I think a great local tavern, a great local bar, I do think Tri-Tip Steak. I think all the things that they were having and these great cocktails. So I thought they did a perfect job.
The wood grain bar and paneling. The new taps, which is phenomenal, in the center of the bar, properly located, a third workstation, and
which they needed.
2 smoke eaters, which they needed more than anything.
And all the new
How
glasses.
Gross.
Yeah.
And they didn't mention it, but you just see they were in the uniforms.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
which was great because it was unnerving seeing the Wonder Twins in their half beach gowns,
that wasn't
just
as bad
weird.
as Jessica and the black ripped things.
Oh my God! And then that was horrible. It didn't look like people working.
Well,
none of them looked like they were working.
They kept coming out from behind the bar and hula hooping. It was like I would have had no clue that these people even were the bartenders. If you want a drink, you don't even know who to ask.
Yeah, again, not coached properly.
Right.
But I still cringe every time I see smoking in bars. Your clothes smell, your food's gross, your hangover is so much worse the next day.
But there wasn't much they could do about it, so they kept their smoking, but now it's not everywhere.
No, I mean, there's nothing much they can do with it other than open a bar in another state. I can't, just because of the gambling, that's why. And it's one of the big turnoffs of Vegas.
For you? I think it's probably a big turn on for some people.
For smokers, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great, but...
Not the vibe of this place, though.
But I've even known some smokers who are appreciative that it's not in bars. That they go outside and smoke them in because it is
I agree with that. I do agree.
No.
I did like the way this entire place looked. It looked like one of those places that was classy but casual. So you could go there in your jeans, but you also felt like you were having a fun night out, not just like a random afternoon casually. I guess you could do that too.
It was interesting because this is in Vegas, maybe because Reno, and because that's relatively close to Los Angeles. Plus, John's very big in the Vegas area.
Right.
I like that they did a video recap rather than the black screen for the update.
I love that that he got to pop in and say, "Hey, we're 70% up. This is what's going on. We're kicking butt." I always love hearing what they have to say.
Foreclosure's gone on my house.
Yeah.
It was nice. It was
With
nice
a smile.
to see, somebody smiling and appreciative of what John did, appreciative of his work. And again, I credit that part to being an athlete and being used to discipline and tough love.
And wanting to be coached.
And knowing that he in turn needed to coach his people.
Speaking of which, something that we didn't mention was this part that actually had me tearing up. I don't know, Kevin.
Oh, Bobby Valentine.
Yeah, that was really amazing. I think he was the GM of the Mets.
He was a coach.
Oh, coach. And
he might have had stints of GM, but he's known as a coach and a really good one at that.
And he called and he said, I love you, and this is what you got to do. It's kind of similar to doing baseball. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It's about what you can come out there and do tonight. And he really got Dan pumped up.
Yep. And said to him, basically, you've got to coach. Now you've got to coach.
Well, what a good coach does, and I'm calling John Taffer the coach at the moment, is knows what his players need. And he knew that he needed this pump-up phone call.
And John always knows how to play to your strengths and mask your weaknesses. And that's a great coach. And a lot of people don't. A lot of bosses don't do that. They continue just keep fighting with having people play against, their weaknesses rather than just hide the weaknesses and let's focus on where they're strong.
Right. And when we did that, we did a really good job, and they are up a lot of money, and I'm sure that, or I hope that he's able to pay back his parents, and that the houses, nothing's being foreclosed, and we can pay back what we owe people. I think you know a little more about where it stands currently.
I mean, it was one of the better updates I saw.
Oh, thank goodness.
Most of the reviews were positive. The only ones that were negative really was the smoke. I guess there's no smoking allowed until 8 o'clock when the kitchen shuts down, which is better.
Yeah, because then at least you're not eating.
But there's still complaints about the smoke. But it was almost like, 5-1 positive versus negative, which normally, even the more positive rescues, it's 50-50 still. There's just haters, on both ends. But this, people were very impressed with the renovation. And the one thing that stood out, they all love the food. So you're right about your guy, your chef.
It was very clear. Usually I feel like during the test, they fail miserably, but he was one of the only people I've seen that kicked butt and took names.
He did it.
He really did.
He did it.
I'm glad to hear they're doing well because it always irks me when we see they're doing so well and then we read these updates and Phil will give them to me and I cry inside for these people because it's easy to come in and run things, ship well for a week, a month, whatever, but the longevity of it is the difficult part, coming in every single day and keeping this up and that's the tough part. So I'm glad to hear it's doing well.
I think also the show being on so long and so many bar owners and bar workers watching the show, I think at this point you would think that they would start to understand what it takes to make a bar rescue work. You still get the alcoholics who are just stubborn and, they suck John in, he comes in, he does all this work, and then they're sour grapes after because that's just who they are. Mm-hmm. But more than
pirates.
Right, and more than pirates. There's so many today, but 34 minutes in pirates. But anyway, I think that I'm hoping that more people are realizing, hey, we've got to buy in. If we're going to do it, we've got to buy in to John's system and give it a chance. You're failing without him anyway. Mm-hmm. So why not give what he's doing a chance?
Yeah, I agree. That's why it actually irks me when somebody gets in his face the way he did. I know
please.
You said about a big guy, but when somebody gets back in his face, and it wasn't that bad today.
Well, he wasn't bad. No, believe me, I get upset, and I also I get really upset if they, not so much at the beginning because I get that, but it's midway through. It's like the lady from Wonder Bar, who just all the way through is antagonizing him and being a brat, and then at the end does kind of the fake turnaround just to get what she wants, and then the minute he leaves, it's just take the sign down, change this, change that. He did nothing for us. That just makes me so mad. As I've said on so many episodes, I don't really know anyone who's ever given me anything, in my life that I haven't earned or had to work for. And to have a show like that come in and give you all this money and all this expertise and all this coaching, and to be like that just makes me violent. But they always say that we only obey the lessons that we pay for, not the free ones.
Well, I hope that's not true in this case. I really believe in Dan, and I'm thinking, Kevin, for this bar, it's close enough. I know the smoking bothers you a little bit, but maybe we could take a little road trip. Only before 8 p.m.
But we have so many other ones here in LA that we've got to do.
Well, okay, we'll do those first, and then Jesse and I will take our road trip to Reno.
Okay, there you go. You and Jesse will go to Reno.
And we'll take pictures. We'll tell you how it is. We'll FaceTime. Then you can't smell the smoke.
We'll vlog it.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
That's perfect. Well, Kevin K-Wow Undergaro, I can't believe this is us reuniting. We'll see if I can outro this a little better than I introed it. Maybe for the outro we get some music going up again. We'll see what I can do.
I think you and I should get back together and do something even bigger.
You think so?
In a few months, yes.
Ooh, you got the wheels turning a little bit? Some ideas?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you're going to let me in on them, I hope.
Yeah, Jesse's not going to be too far away either.
Okay, good. Kev, where can the people find you if they want to continue the conversation?
Oh, well, at Undergaro.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't really do much with it, but
that's okay.
It's there.
And people still love to follow you anyway. And Jesse, since you were so awesome tonight, where can the people find you? And every night.
DJ Jesse J, and watch Love and Hip Hop tonight.
Woo! And you guys can find me at Roxy Star. You can find us at AfterBuzz TV, AfterBuzzTV.com, YouTube.com/AfterBuzzTV.
And what other shows do you do?
And on iTunes and on SoundCloud. Oh, I do everything. If you guys are watching, then you'll see me. Tomorrow night I Can Do That. Really awesome NBC show. And it's actually the finale, so make sure you tune into that. Until then, same time, same place, next week for Bar Rescue. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.